Auburn softball season is just barely underway, and while we've gotten an early look at how they're going to do on the diamond, we're also getting an early look about some different things about what they'll look like on the diamond in terms of their uniforms. And when I say that word, you could think of a particular guest that's going to be joining us. Let's talk about some Auburn aesthetics. Spring season has arrived, and of course, that means so many great spring sports. We're talking all about baseball and softball and track and field and all those things that are getting started right now. But for this particular topic, this particular video, we're going to be talking about some Auburn softball news. And when you see this particular face on our channel, you know what type of topics are coming up. And no, I don't mean predictions, because those are the things that he loves. But I mean all things aesthetics as it relates to Auburn. And obviously, we always throw a little history in there with Clint as well. Clint Richardson of the Auburn Uniform Database, back here on E2C Network, the YouTube channel. What's going on, Clint?
All good. How are you?
You have been a busy man, sir. I saw you this weekend, and you just didn't even have a minute hardly to say hello to me.
That's not true. Don't paint me like that. But yes, it was busy covering the new baseball uniforms, and then, as we're going to talk, softball debuted a couple of new uniforms, and even gymnastics debuted their first new leotard of the year. So 6 total new uniforms in the last week. So it's kind of crazy.
It's almost like they said Clint needs some things to do, and we're just going to give them all to him at this point. So, hey, listen, this is what happens
right?
When you set yourself up as an expert in an area. They're going to start dropping things in your lap. So I guess, we'll just know that you are a very busy man right now. But let's jump into this, okay? Spring sports, obviously, we're excited about what's going to happen out there on the field. A lot of exciting things for this Auburn softball program, and anticipating what they and Coach Mickey Dean could potentially accomplish. Let's just talk about this smaller topic, a little interesting topic, and maybe a little history with it too. New uniforms this season for softball, although we don't have a lot of good looks at it yet, but there's a few out there. Talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing and what you're thinking about them.
Yeah, and like this is the worst part about playing in these early season tournaments away from home. We don't have great photos. Auburn didn't send a photographer down to Clearwater for the NSCA tournament this weekend, and this is why it's important to send photographers. We need photos for exactly these kind of things. But yeah, so let's see. Friday, was it Thursday or Friday, was their first game?
Friday, I believe. I could have that wrong, but I think it's Friday.
And the team wore their brand new all-white uniforms. And thankfully, we had seen those during the photo shoot days here on campus. So these are very, very similar to what they wore last year, just tweaked. So, the last set that was worn, since 2018, so the last 5 years, had on the sleeves and on the pants stripe, it had a blue and an orange stripe touching. And this new white set actually kind of mimics what the baseball team has been wearing since 2018 as well, where it's the football Northwestern stripes on the sleeves and on the pants. Unlike, the baseball team had it around the collar too, the softball jersey does not. So it's one of those things, if you blink, you miss it. But also, they kind of helped out with that because they changed the word mark on the chest. So instead of just, being the arched copperplate Auburn logo, it's now the arched copperplate Tigers word mark. And if you've really paid attention, if you follow me for a while, you know that the Tigers word mark on an athletic uniform is rare. And softball is really the first one to bring it back. They did that, I think it was 2015, 2016, with those really dark charcoal grays. And they've continued to have one uniform that reads Tigers up until this last set. So there's a return kind of to what they've been doing with these white uniforms.
Yeah, it feels kind of, when I look at that uniform too, obviously you said it mirrors what baseball did, the Northwestern stripes. There's a return to some old favorites, some familiar things, it seems like, thus far. There's also some similarities with this blue on blue uniform that we have with the baseball team. They just debuted those as well. We've talked about them in a separate video, and obviously on your article at auburnuniforms.com, where you've discussed that for the baseball team. Any other thoughts on these all blue uniforms that we've seen for the softball team thus far?
Yeah, and kind of like we said in the other video, the baseball uniforms breaking out the blue pants are the first time in almost a century that they've done that. Blue pants are rare in baseball. The softball program has worn blue pants a lot in the last decade plus. They tend to always wear it with the blue tops and go blue on blue with white belts and white socks. That's no different than what they did on Saturday, debuting these new uniforms. These are entirely different than anything we've ever seen Auburn softball wear. So while the white uniforms also had the Northwestern stripe, the navies had them, and they're massive. These aren't just thin little pipings around the sleeves or the collar. These are railroad tracks. These are
That's an interesting way to put it, but
so they run across the sleeve, down the pants, and in an interesting fashion around the collar. And you'll notice when you look at them, like these aren't a traditional button down baseball softball uniform. These are a pullover top, so
yeah,
there is no button, there's no placket, and there's no buttons. And for whatever reason, don't know why Under Armour likes to do this, or any of the manufacturers like to do this, but instead of bringing that collar to a point, typical V-neck, it's kind of like a wishbone,
it's
kind of
very
like what
odd.
you see in basketball in the NBA, especially. Think about the Golden State Warriors or the Los Angeles Lakers. They wear a wishbone collar on their uniforms, and it's weird. I don't love how it truncates right on basically the collarbone.
Mhm.
Um, but this is also the first time that the Auburn softball team has worn the Script Auburn logo on their chest. So, there's a lot of firsts that come with baseball and softball this year.
Right.
Again, just like the baseball ones, these blues are going to be kind of controversial. I saw a lot of people who really liked them on Saturday when they were released. I think personally, I think they're a little on the bold side. I
They're very
love
bold.
using the script on the logo. I wish every team would use it in some form or fashion. But if there's a sense of these feel similar or familiar, it's because they really are.
Yeah.
If you're like me and you check eBay, you'll see a lot of salesman samples, or as I call them, catalog uniforms that show up, and they're officially licensed Auburn Under Armour uniforms with official tags from Under Armour, but they were only created as samples. Under Armour, as well as Adidas and Nike, like to use their respective teams that they're signed with to kind of use as models when it comes to building out new uniform designs, showing off new templates, and you see them throughout the Under Armour catalog. And we have seen a very similar style to these uniforms with the script Auburn on the chest for years. Most notably, it's usually on like an all orange uniform with the similar Northwestern stripes on the collar and the sleeves and the pants. So it looks like Auburn kind of took that as inspiration, tweaked them a little bit, and called it a day. And here they are.
Well, I love the synergy, right? Because these are two very connected sports in a way, obviously different in their own right, but still very similar for good reasons. And so I like that there's a little bit of synergy across both of the two different programs that'll be familiar, even when it's a little bit maybe jarring for some people that don't like change. But it is bold, I will say, the blue
It's
choices for
very bold.
softball and baseball. But it's one that I'm open to. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to football, but I'm pretty much open to everybody else. I know that's a can of worms. We don't have to go down that route in this video, but
Kyle just said he doesn't care about non-football uniforms.
that's not what I said at all, Clint. But before I dig a hole for myself, wrap us up. Any predictions or just thoughts what we might see about softball the rest of the season?
I don't think we're done. Two new uniforms in a 3-day tournament is a lot. That third day on Sunday, they wore the old orange tops and the old pinstripe bottoms. So I think, kind of like with baseball, you might see a mixture of set designs. Of course, the new whites and the new blues don't match at all. I don't think you'll see a third design. I
Right.
think you'll just see the other colors if they come if we get new uniforms in all the colorways, that they'll just be in very similar fashions. So I think you might see a gray very similar to the whites, but with Auburn on the chest. Obviously, they're wearing the old oranges, and I imagine that the pinstripes will be remaining. So it's rare that you kind of see half of a uniform set replaced like this. It's usually all or nothing, and
Right.
whether it's by choice or whether it was more supply chain issues, both Auburn baseball and Auburn softball have not completely replaced this entire uniform set. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out this year.
We will watch and we will listen specifically to you, as we know that you'll
Always.
be following this for us. And you can follow along with what he's covering, obviously, at auburnuniforms.com. Go check out that baseball uniform article that we have linked in the description as well.
And we'll
For
have
whatever,
a softball uniform coming as soon as we get more photos. So
exactly,
hopefully
yeah.
Monday.
And that's why you just need to stay tuned to auburnuniforms.com. But if people want to follow you everywhere else, where should they follow you?
Follow me on Twitter at ClintAU24, and you can always follow the AUD elsewhere on Facebook and Instagram at Auburn Uniforms.
As always, for us here at E2C Network, check out those links in the description. Follow us on social media. And if you want to follow me on Twitter at Kyle Loomis24. Appreciate you guys tuning into this video today. Till we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.